Hello, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome to our casual hangout where we're going to talk a little bit about B2B marketing, B2B sales, and B2B partnerships. I am Sam Bush, the host of Ambush on Air, which you will see popped up on the screen. That is my podcast that I started about a year ago, where all I do is talk about B2B sales, marketing, partnerships in the ERP space, specifically in Microsoft. So if you ever want to talk Microsoft, interesting ideas or innovation, call me up. Let's do a quick chat.
Yeah.
And then I'm here with my bestie, Trevor.
Hi, everyone. You may already know me, but I'm Trevor Metcalf from Resco. I'm the marketing manager for North America. And I just want to start also by Brand Builder of the Year from Dynamics User Group as of last week. So can we do a round of applause?
I am over the moon. I was just saying earlier, you will always catch me in like a Roy G. Biv suit of some kind when I'm speaking. So today we're doing pink. I sometimes wear the green to match my podcast because I just like to really show up. And we didn't do slides for this because I was going to match them, right? So I was like, let me just stand out.
Yeah, I think you are the slide.
Exactly,
It can't,
slide,
right? Yeah,
right?
you are the visual.
Okay, so a couple of things we want to kick off today. So most of my marketing nerdy research is all around generational marketing changes. So fun fact, if you're in B2B, 72% of your official signer of your software purchase is a millennial currently, which that grew about 48% from COVID. So 2020 to 2025, up 42%. So how many millennials are you talking to in your buyer journey? Way more than you know and way more than you expect. So we've got a couple of polls today. Do you want to kick the first one off?
Yeah, if we could get the first poll, I think, and we're also going to do Q&A throughout our session here. So please, if you have a question you'd like us to touch on or a topic or something, we have a great monitor right in front of us so we can see it. So please, if we could get the, all right.
There we go.
So the first poll is, how many pieces of content do you think someone is consuming before filling out your contact form on your site?
Okay, we've got a lot of people saying low numbers. Okay. Okay.
10, 7.
Has anybody hit the right answer? Did I put the right answer on there? You guys, I messed with you. It's 20. We forgot to put 20 and that's on me.
No, but I think that's a good example because a lot of people would probably think it's, I mean, we have 15, but
Yeah.
It's
You guys are
really
so
a lot
close.
more than you would imagine.
Yeah.
And I think that's important to remember.
And I think something to understand about when we say pieces of content, we're not just talking about reading the website or reading a white paper. It's really any interaction with a brand, either digital or in person. So think about the people in your buying group. So again, a lot of them are millennials, and then you've got the gamut of other generations, but then you also have a really specific buying group of pre-COVID used to be 3 people. It was the person who the executive signed the bill, and then you had the end user, and then you had the maybe one person who needed to be informed. Well, now your buying group is at least 10 people in most B2B purchases. So if you have 10 people who need 20 pieces of content at 20 different stages, how do you do it? Right? How, as a marketing team and as a business, can you fulfill all of those needs?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think Jason set us up excellent before. I don't know how we could have done that
Honestly,
any
it was
better.
like, boop, boop.
Yeah. And just to see that slide that shows you different content that people are consuming, different parts of the journey, right? We were talking about this with Rick at the workshop earlier this week, that when a lot of marketing teams see that, and by marketing team, I'm sure a lot of you, it could be 1 person, 2 people, very small team. People are often wondering, how can I do all this, right? How can I create all of this? And I think one sentiment that came out of this week, and we were at Dynamics Con in Chicago last week, was that you can really tailor your content to these different buyers. I think that was part of our discussion was, instead of you have your funnel when you're creating content for different parts of the funnel, but it's also important to remember the buying team or who that you're going to be approaching can make or engage with different content or topics. So that was part of the conversation is, can we take something like a case study and have a version for a technical audience? Could you make a version for more an operational perspective, or for Resco, the mobile perspective? A lot of organizations think you have to dial in content based on where they are at the funnel, but I would also have you consider, who your buyer is, who's part of that team, and how can I really, it's recycling. It's how can I get the most out of what I'm going to dedicate my time to create. So
100%. And HubSpot put out an annual report for 2025 that said only 51% of marketers are actually using recycled content through AI functionality. So a lot of marketers are still net new creating content. But what you don't realize is you have this wealth of expertise and knowledge in old content that just needs updated or broken apart. And when you're building all of that content, you really need to think about those buyers, right? So millennials, right? I'm a millennial. I'm the token millennial. I want a stat, I want a fact, and I want it fast and shiny, right? That's what I'm engaging with, is that quick, like, save them 30% on their daily workload. And I'm like, that's what I care about. But then you've got some people who want to read the depth of how the integration works. I don't care how it works because I don't have to do it, right? So you've got to think about all of those people, but using one kind of cornerstone or pillar piece to create that is really how we see that moving forward.
And I think that also, you know, a lot of us in the ISV world, in the Microsoft world, we're engaging with multiple verticals at once. And, you know, in our work with verticals, really, you can have 1 or 2 stories per vertical that you can break down into entire campaigns, into, you know, one case study can be everything on that slide that Jason showed.
Exactly.
So I think that's interesting.
Should we kick it to the next poll?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's go to the next poll. And then we'll get into this question. This, should we do the question first? That one's very aggressive question. It is. Okay.
Let's do Roy G. Biv. That's a good
Roy G.
one.
Biv. Okay, so I went to school for art. It basically is the name of like how you say all of the colors. So it's red, blue, right? Like that whole gamut.
Orange, yellow, green.
There you go.
Indigo, violet.
He did it in order. There it is.
His name,
that's Roy G. Biv. And that's the guy who created it.
That question's good.
So
where do we go?
Most important marketing channel for B2B.
That's interesting.
So we saw a lot of stuff in the presentation that Jason just showed. For me personally, in my research, it is LinkedIn. LinkedIn or YouTube, which is kind of a crazy thing to say. YouTube actually is one of the most consumed medias on the internet, period, for any given thing. Everybody consumes video in some way. Those videos on YouTube actually, you can put them anywhere and everywhere, but they still live on YouTube. And YouTube is one of the places that Google takes and ranks you based on your authority from what you put on YouTube. So I'm a huge fan of YouTube, huge fan of LinkedIn for really the B2B side of business for a marketing channel. What about you?
Yeah, I'm going to have probably the most annoying marketing answer.
I love it.
Was like, I think for a lot of people, they see that question, they think about that question because they think I can only do one thing or I only have a little amount of time or resources. So I'm going to dedicate it in the best place.
Yeah.
But I think the whole point of today is to talk about what's working and not working.
Yep.
And the real answer is it's no longer a single destination anymore.
Exactly.
So like we were saying, tailoring content for either people in a funnel, your different personas, but also all of those individuals get their content from different places. So like we said, a millennial buyer, B2B on TikTok is growing. It
really is
huge. And I'm, as a young millennial, I am surprised by that.
I'm an elder and I love it.
Like, and elder millennial.
Elder millennial.
Okay, you're right, great. But I'm very surprised by that. And I think in today's modern B2B, it has to be the mix. It has to be a combination. So
because again, your buyers are so diverse now. We're not all consuming the same thing the same way.
Wow, we are getting a lot of questions.
So many questions. And there's one on here that I feel like I have to talk about immediately, and that is email marketing. I have a little bit of a different slant on how I feel about email marketing. I think email marketers, if you're going out and you're writing an email to your audience every single week, you're not doing email marketing justice at all. You are clogging up people's inbox with stuff they don't care about, I guarantee you, right? What I like is a very tailored to ICP, or what does ICP stand for?
ICP? I might have a different acronym for that. So you tell me.
Okay, so it is, I just blanked out on what it is.
No.
There it is. Ideal customer profile.
Yep.
Sorry, a little early for me, need a coffee. But I like to take a title and say, I am reaching out to controllers and I have this specific message for them, and I might send them one email a month.
Yeah.
Maybe one email every 3 months. When I started at my job at Netstock, now I'm our partner marketing lead in North America, and our audience is supply chain. I actually came in and I turned off all of our nurture campaigns because I was like, I don't think that these are all going to individuals separately. I think we're sending them to multiple people for multiple different channels and emails, right? Nobody wants that anymore. What I want is an email tailored to me, not the email that is the traditional B2B email marketing strategy.
But again, I think it's email marketing is part of the mix.
It's the journey.
Right.
Yep.
So I think email marketing we're seeing as a way to keep engaged with a customer or a target over time, something to educate them. And again, that's like you said, a nurture program could be used just to keep someone on a hook, but it's also what it really should be for is sort of a drip of education or of interest, or if there's a topic that is they're gravitating towards, that should really be the focus of that. Yeah. Second poll.
And then we'll go back to questions.
Yeah, that sounds great. And thank you everyone for the questions. This is
so fun.
Excellent.
I'm going to take these questions back and do a whole podcast about all of these.
Yeah, we should.
Okay. So as we're talking about content, what do you think is the most consumed content? I kind of already gave you the answer. And I feel like a lot of you are seeing it and somebody's putting, okay, I'm seeing the answers here. What you'll notice here is no one has said blog yet. Isn't it interesting?
Yeah, 13 people. No one has said blog. That's interesting. Okay. I wonder why.
Okay, what's so interesting to me is the blog is the cornerstone piece, right? It's the one that the email or the copy team or the content team focuses so much work and effort on. And what we're talking about is taking that blog and synthesizing it into multiple different pieces of content. So taking that blog and maybe having your CEO make a video about one of the bullet points and throwing that on LinkedIn and on YouTube. We're talking about taking that long form blog and turning it into a series of content somewhere else. Because that blog still feeds the internet, still feeds Google search. It still feeds really ChatGPT search and other generative AI searches. But not everybody's reading that. Right? So how do you take that one really focused work and use it for multiple different places? So video is your highest consumed. I think in the 2025 world that we're in, you see video constantly. You don't even realize you're being served a video anymore, right?
Right. And I think now, I mean, YouTube used to be one of the main channels for video, but I think now I'm a person who watches YouTube like on my TV instead of streaming and things, which they have some statistics that show now, I believe YouTube on TV is now the most it's the most popular platform for YouTube generally now.
And you've got Gen Z, you've got Gen Alpha coming up in learning how to do day-to-day activities by using YouTube.
Right.
I mean, I learned how to change a tire from YouTube. Anytime something happens to my car, I call my dad or my brother, and if neither of them answer, I'm like, YouTube has me somewhere, right? And that's how we all learn, right? We're learning by somebody else's experience, and YouTube is a great place to put that.
Yeah, definitely. You know, one topic I was thinking about, and time is flying by, actually. This is great. I was thinking about if anyone had the chance to catch Bobby's great end of the day yesterday and talking about really like finding your purpose and finding your why. I think we were talking about this last night, just that a lot of organizations, I was hoping people would find some good takeaways from that yesterday. And I think sometimes when you have a topic that's a little more abstract like that, it can be hard to turn that into action. But we were talking about how a great way to embrace that message is understanding your why and your purpose as an organization. And then how can you translate that to your marketing message or to your content? So I was talking to Hauke at Draeger, and their messaging around technology for life, right? I was just telling him I love that because it really gets to the core of what they do and why they do it quickly.
Definitely.
And they can, if you have something like that, you are able to create content that I think can share that. And when you have an underlying message or theme, or you're able to have that vision or brand, I believe it firmly solidifies the brand and the message and reinforces to the target what you do, why you do it, and how you do it.
Yeah. And I think just to extend on that, so I am really a marketer who's a little bit different than some marketers, right? We've already kind of seen some of that. But my biggest purpose in life, I figured this out when I was, teenager struggling through who am I, right? My biggest purposes are to bring people joy and to kind of shake up the norm, The things that fill my cup are those two things. So how do I do that in my work every single day? So I created a podcast to basically showcase the things that make me happiest, right? And I think that translates to the culture of work as well. And it translates into how you can create your business message. My whole message is ambush on air. My name is Sam Bush. Drop the A. I'm here to ambush your idea on anything that you think is traditional.
Just ask Rick. He knows this very well.
We challenge each other so well. It's one of my favorite things, right? Always want to be growing and thinking. So one thing I think we could pivot to with our last kind of poll is the idea of influencers and thought leadership content in your strategy for sales, marketing, and partnerships. So again, we're not just talking about marketers going out and saying, here are these cool things I'm doing in marketing, learn from me.
Right.
But when you're building a brand or thought leadership in your marketplace, a lot of people have this fear inside of them of either I'm not cool enough, I don't have enough ideas, I don't have a strategic purpose.
Weak message.
A weak message, yes.
Someone already put that.
So let us know what you think yours are. A lot of people always say messaging falling flat. And I think a lot of that stems from you not knowing your purpose or your business's purpose, right? So I started at an organization about 6 months ago, and everything was supply chain experts. And I'm like, so's everybody else who's in supply chain. We all say that, but it means nothing. What does mean something is, hey, we're in the States and we're talking about tariffs and how AI and our platform and tool can help you solve some of that fear, right? We're getting to the core of the problem in our conversations and in our content and less about the software. So creating a message when you're creating thought leadership or creating a personal brand, you want to lead into the problem and the pain and the solution afterwards. Stop talking about yourself and talk about your business and how it helps others. No one wants to hear your nonsense about like, hey, we are the best in business at this. So is everybody else in their mind, right? So you can't say you're the best anymore because you're just not, right?
Well, I think that's where the thought leadership conversation can change. I think a lot of people think you have to have something so unique, so innovative, so different and memorable that you're leading with a brand new thought. But really, I think I was talking with a marketing colleague actually who lives in Slovakia, one of our partners, and he was telling us that thought leadership is educating your competitors.
100%.
And that really stuck with me because I don't think it's necessarily having to be the latest or greatest or most, unique or different. It's really about how can you take your strengths as an organization, the impact you'd want to make, and how can you translate that into just a message that people can understand and know a bit more about you. And the confidence around that message, I think, that I like the way we worded that. How fearful are you? Because really, I think starting with that can actually make your thought leadership content better, is to just try. And wow, we have 5 thumbs up on a question. So 2-minute warning. Let's make sure we hit that one.
Biggest mistake you've seen in B2B organizations make in their marketing?
The cameras are on, right? Cameras are on. This is recorded.
Okay.
Previous employers watching. You go first. Okay. Well, today, the biggest mistake, right? I think is not getting the most out of your content the first time. For me, if I'm doing something like a case study or other types of content, as I'm writing that case study or I'm working even with the partner or end customer, I'm thinking about what's the blog going to be? What could a white paper be? What is the short video, long video? How could we translate this into a session, an event or a vertical, right? I am the story guy, but I think a lot of people think the story means it's qualitative. It's not quantitative. Story is not meat, but I think the story is actually the most memorable part. And you have to just find a way to recycle that and use every piece. That's probably what I see.
I have a couple, and this one's, again, going to shake up a little. I think marketers are all thinking about the wrong metrics most of the time. I've been on so many marketing organizations that are like, our top of funnel looks amazing. We did great for the quarter. Clap for us. And you get in front of the board and they're like, we don't care. We're not focused on revenue. metrics as marketers very often. And for me, I'm like, if the sales team doesn't have a pipeline, then I didn't do my job, right? And we didn't build a message tailored to solve the challenges that we're talking about. And oftentimes in a marketing organization, especially of a large scale, you're focused on impressions, you're focused on top of funnel, you're focused on brand building. And that all is good and fine, but your sales team has to close deals for your business to stay open. So why aren't we thinking like one revenue team in an organization? And that's my biggest mistake that I see often is you've got competing goals from the CRO and the CMO. Period. Biggest problem that I see often.
Yeah.
We're time's
We
up.
are time up.
Okay, we got one more. Okay, let's do one more.
How do you measure the success of a B2B marketing campaign? That one we will probably need time for a part 2.
I can answer that for 45 minutes. Catch me during the coffee break. I'd love to chat about that.
Yeah.
How do you validate your marketing, your messaging is working? By users. I love to call up my users before I send something out and say, does this mean anything to you? Anything.
Yeah.
Do you feel any type of way when I send this to you? Because if it doesn't work for you and you're my target audience and my regular signer, then why am I putting it out to the masses and hoping for the best? So I like to do that by committee. I like to stay very close to my customer base.
So we're obviously going to do a part 2, right?
2.
So we want to keep these questions and let's make sure we cover all of them in another session.
Yeah.
I want to thank you all for the participation today.
So much
Sam,
for having
thank you
me.
for being here.
Thank you.